Hello and welcome back to another episode. So we've been mixing it up a little. As you know, we've been doing recipes and some growing tips, and it's time, I think, for another update on the farm. I don't know if you can hear that. That's Philippe putting on the pump. So I wanted to take a little walkabout and talk about all the projects that we've been setting up and how they're going, because I think that some of you might enjoy that. So let's go. What you see here is our big wood pile. These are a lot of the mimosas that have been cut down in our cleaning process, and they'll be burned in winter time when we have to heat the house. We have a big fireplace in one of the rooms. Some figs. This is a tiny tree, but it has some ripe figs on it. That one's not ready yet. This fig is delicious. It's red on the inside. This is definitely a different variety than the big trees. Here we meet problem number one. This is a spontaneous apple tree that was growing, which we were really looking forward to harvesting. But as you can tell, almost all the fruit is dying off. And that's a reoccurring problem here on the farm this year. And it's been very tragic because there's been a lot of disease. We've heard this complaint from everybody around, and that's just, yes, it's heartbreaking because obviously you don't want to have any sickness or illnesses on your farm. And it's been mostly the apple trees and the pear trees that have been suffering. It didn't remain with that one tree that I made a video about, which you can check out if you like, if you don't remember. Oh, look, another fig. Fig season is very good, and the trees are also looking good. They're very, very, very sweet, these figs. So I'm just going to munch on this while I give you guys this tour. I'm walking down to the front part of the farm now, to the street. And let's see what we have there. So we're in the height of summer now. And as you can tell, everything is looking nice and dry. We're hitting temperatures up to 42, 43 degrees. And there have been a lot of forest fires around. So yes, it's very dry, and our paddocks are not giving a lot of grass these days. On our left, as you can see, this is the vineyard. The grass is very tall because there have been a few developments which have prevented us from grazing the sheep in all areas. One of them being is that we have imported one female lamb from another farm, which was a big mistake, I can say. It's definitely something we won't be doing again, because this little lamb was not trained on the fence, and so she takes it upon herself to escape constantly, meaning that we actually can't put the sheep now in our productive areas, meaning all the areas where we've planted young trees and the areas where we have any vines standing, because they'll just munch away at all of it, meaning that now this part is looking a little overgrown. But as you can see, Philippe did mow just around the actual grape plants, just to give them some space. Here are some grapes, if you can see. It's been very dry, you can tell by the grape, by the fruit setting. But here, when they're a little bit more in the shade, you see they're looking a little better. We have all kinds of grapes growing, which is really interesting because we don't know what types of casts these are. Our young trees are doing good, as you can tell. Funny how the ground changes color that quickly. You don't even see where we put down that whole bed of goodness for them. Which then actually brings me to the sad part. So the tree is also infected with that terrible disease. And I'm now walking up to the other tree, which Philippe cut off some branches. Yeah, we're going to do a very severe trimming back at the end of the season. And then we hope that that will annihilate this disease for the biggest part. But I have to say that I'm not very hopeful about the situation. Yeah, this tree as well, like, it should be having apples in it, but it has absolutely nothing growing in it. But it isn't all bad news. There's also this pear tree, which is laden. We're going to be dehydrating this and making wonderful chutneys and jams. So this is the little stable. Not much has happened here. We pulled electricity towards it, and as you can tell, we now have electricity here. So for future projects, that's a great start. And then I moved forward into the second vineyard, which is also looking good, and Philippe actually mowed here. Right now, because of the high temperatures in Portugal, you actually have a lot of days in which you can't use any machinery. Heavy machinery being the mower or a tractor or anything that basically could create a spark. But due to the fire hazard, we're not allowed to do that. So things are looking a little more wild than we would like. And that in combination with our sheep not being able to graze in all locations where we want them to currently. Everything is nice and yeah, rustic, you would say maybe. But that's fine, because we know once we have that one lamb slaughtered, we get into that and just tidy everything up. So these are the tomato trellises that Renato and I made, and we've decided to just let it all go a bit here and harvest what comes out and not give it too much attention. So I know what you're thinking, that was a lot of work for nothing, and I cannot agree more, because I don't know if you all remember, but this garden behind me, which is highly overgrown and very, very infested with weeds, was actually made as a salvation attempt for our first garden, because we were afraid that nothing would grow there. In the end, that garden picked up greatly and everything is thriving over there, which meant that we had very little time to navigate between the two gardens. And also because this is on the outer part of our farm, it is just a little bit, time-wise, it's a bit of a nuisance to come to this garden. And it is definitely true when you say that if you don't weed in time in this garden, because we didn't have time to prep it to have very little weed pressure, it takes over very quickly. And then it became a question of, shall we then just leave the whole thing, or shall we keep on top of it? And we decided that our time was better spent elsewhere. So this garden is going to be amazing next year, because we're going to now prep it to be weed free for next year. Meaning we'll cover the beds and stuff, and then next year we'll have a great garden there. And now all the irrigation system is laid down. There's fertility there now, so we're good. Except that, yeah, it's a little bit sad looking. All right, we're going for day number 2 of the tour. Yesterday I got a little bit distracted because Philippe needed some help with something, and then the light changed, and then I just had this bright shiny face. So I thought, okay, I'll do it tomorrow morning, the rest. So I'm walking back down right now. Just discovered something horrible. One of our chickens was taken. Something grabbed him by the neck and tried to pull him out. That's farm life for you. Gotta go and tell Philippe now. I think this has to do with the fact that we lost our rooster a few days ago. He died suddenly, and I think it had to do with heat and the fact that he was actually a meat bird. He wasn't a laying bird. They're grown for size, you know, not for longevity. And so we lost a rooster, so now there's no natural defense mechanism in place. And I think we'll try to get a new rooster from one of their village neighbors. But that made me sad. This is fun that this is happening now that fun. This is definitely interesting that this is happening while I'm giving you guys the farm tour, because this actually does illustrate reality of living on a farm. I wouldn't say there's a lot of death involved, but there's definitely death involved. If you have livestock, at some point you'll have dead stock, and that just is a sad reality of it all. So we'll have to get a rooster and maybe invest in breeding a few new of our own chickens. I have some bad news for you. We lost a chicken. I think it's because we don't have a rooster.
How did they try to take it out of the bed?
They just tried, but the electricity was on, I checked. So yeah, that's the bad news has been broken to the boss. He knows now that I am not responsible, so I can go back out there and give you guys the rest of this tour. And then here we've got our sheep stable, which is one of our next big projects. Because as you can tell, in Dutch we would call this houtje touwtje. Houtje touwtje meaning that it looks very scruffy, and it does look very scruffy because we've just salvaged what was here and made do with some materials that we had. But now that this is installed, here's the sheep. Let's say hi. You got a bit of a snotty nose, you, huh? So yeah, as you can tell, this is a brick building, cinder block building, and it has no gates currently. And there's little to say about it except that it's practical, yet one of our biggest eyesores on the farm currently. And I'm a very aesthetically driven person, so I think it's very important that things look good. I'm also obviously in here, in this area. This is really the heart of the farm where the garden is. And every time I pass this location, I look at that thing and I think, oh, it's just depressing. It's just sad. So our plan is to cover it with wood, or either to pladuur it, which means putting a layer of sand loam on the outside to make it less offensive. And then Philippe is going to then be welding some new gates, basically using old materials, and that will make that whole thing a whole lot more appealing. What you can see here is our ditch. This is another project that still needs doing, and that is that we're going to have somebody come with a small digger to just dig this ditch a little deeper. If you remember, we had another ditch dug at the beginning when we arrived here in order to manage some water that we'll have in autumn. We have basically quite a lot of water on the land, and if it's not directed in the right location, we get floods on certain areas. So the digging of this ditch is important. Sorry. So the digging of this ditch is quite important, and it will have to get done now before the rainy season starts again. All right, Philippe.
So we got the 2,000 liter containers, and this belongs to the irrigation of our trees, from the nut trees and from our fruit trees. We got a borehole with a pump that pumps the water up here, and then it feeds it by gravity to the trees. We fill it up twice a day, and we irrigate half in the morning and the other half in the afternoon, and that's it. Works perfectly.
So Philippe, tell us about this little borehole here.
So this little borehole was made long time ago, but was never nobody took water out of it because there was no electricity here. So when we got the land, we had a borehole, but we didn't know how deep it was. Did it have water? Did it have nothing? So we decided to ask somebody to put a pump. We pulled electricity after a while, and we work with it, and it gives minimum, because that's what we take daily, around 2,000 to 2,500 liters of water daily. So it's not bad, and it is 94 meters deep. Yeah, so this is our borehole that feeds the tanks up there, that then feeds all the trees here down. Sheep attack, yeah, sheep and trees, what a story. So because it's very dry here in the summer, the electrical nets don't really work that well, because the sheep have the hooves, so, and it's so dry the ground that it doesn't make contact. So they touch the net, the electrical net, and it doesn't work, it doesn't do them nothing. So a few of the young ones discovered that, and now they just go under the net and they come to the grove. So we decided to put the sheep far away from the trees right now. So actually what we're going to do next season, we already started, is I chose to have this as only for the layers. So we're going to walk this field only with layers, no sheep, for the first, I would say, 3 years at least. So the trees are high. And then we let the sheep come, and the sheep will prune the trees by themselves at a certain height. You can see this beautiful tree. It's completely full of new shoots. Beautiful. Look how green they are. They had been all eaten by the sheep. That's why she's recovering like this. Yeah.
We then continued walking along all the young tree lines, inspecting the young growth. Most of them were looking great. Some of them definitely took a hit due to the sheep.
See the difference? You see the difference between one field and the other field? The chickens were here 7 days ago and they move slowly, and they're gonna come tomorrow to this part, and you see the difference, what they do to the floor. You can see that all the green little pieces are coming again, and the dry long stems are getting flattened on the floor. Well, this was a completely overgrown tree, rotten in a lot of spots, a lot of mold. You can see on the bark of the thing, of the tree, how it is. And it was really in bad state. When we came and we cleaned it, we give a big pruning, we cleaned it a lot, and then this year we got hit by this, what's it called? Fire blight. Yeah, it's not looking that nice. But I also see parts that the new shoots, new growth are like healthy. So maybe there's still a chance for this tree. But these are Reinette apples. They're nice to cook. Yeah, let's see if she survives. Shall we go to the olive grove number 2?
Let's go.
Nice and clean all the way. Used to be a big jungle over here. So the garden is on full-on production, full-on summer production. I started all the seedlings already for the autumn, for the winter. We didn't plant nothing yet, it's all in little seedlings still. We start to take some things out. We took the corn already, and if you look good, the pumpkins under the corn just exploded completely, so that it's like a cover crop. We can walk there. The strawberries are starting to get to an end. We're making stackers, what you call, like we're multiplying the strawberries basically. Carrots still have a lot. Courgettes, oh my god. The peppers, we're gonna leave these peppers to become red so we can transform them into pimentada. Check that show, it's gonna be a very nice one. The aubergines, we have so much aubergines, you've seen all the shows. If you didn't saw it, check it. Onions, they almost died in the beginning. When we planted, we thought this is gonna be nothing, and now they're beautiful onions. Leeks, same story, more onions. I direct seed the second bed of carrots here, so we have carrots in the winter. We have the okra, that it's going big. We're harvesting every day around, it's not much, but it's around 300-400 grams. We did a small tryout of sweet potatoes. They look very good. The ground is starting to come up, so it means the potatoes are growing under. A little bit of soya seeds, just to multiply the seeds and see if next year we can make a nice field with all the edamame beans. So we love to eat those things, it's very nice.
What are edamame beans, Philippe?
Soya beans, if you didn't know about it. Here is the pumpkins. It used to be corn. You can see the leftovers corn, and those pumpkins look very sad in the beginning, but now that the corn is done, we took the corn out and these pumpkins just exploded. You cannot see the floor right now. It's a covered floor. So
our last little corn.
look how big are these. Ooh, there's white corn. So here we got some boxes that Sophie harvested. Here we got the seedlings. Got some fennel, beetroot, some beans that should have been put already, chard, Chinese cabbage, radicchio, pan de zucchero, winter salads, mixed salads, kohlrabis. This is nice calendula flowers. This is spring onions. Oh, they're looking big. They have to go. Spring onions, leeks, and asparagus for in 2 years. I transplanted these things yesterday, and these are cauliflower, purple broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and 2 Portuguese cabbages, tronchuda and pinca. Well, I cannot tell you much about the trees because it's not only what does good here or not. We also had that little problem with the compost, that it's very strong in some things and not in others, so it's unbalanced. So I think some of the trees didn't make it because of the compost, some trees didn't make it because of the weather itself, how it is here, but I don't know which one was what. But yeah, I got a little bit of tryout of everything here. We have tropical fruits, we have pears, apples, mandarins, oranges, and what more? We have walnuts a lot, so the walnuts are going pretty okay. We have a lot of oaks also. The oaks has been a mystery because they look like they're gonna dry, they dry out, but then they shoot again, and they shoot with more than one shoot, so it's being like a Russian roulette with them. We have a surprise under a pallet, and that's called the watermelon. Got some more figs, we got some passion fruit, beautiful passion fruit plant. We have, what's this in pomegranate? What's this in English? Pomegranate. We have eucalyptus. We have some pines. These pines are from the pine nuts, and these pines are just from the wood pine. There's no pine nuts inside the pine, so this. But this one, yeah, these are pine nuts, pines. It's the syntropic garden of our 2 kids. They plant all the seeds. I gave them whatever they needed. They just plant everything, and there's a little bit of everything. And funnily enough, this takes much less water than all the rest of the garden. They just cover completely the ground, and if you put your hand there, there's always some humidity. Of course, some plants like it more, some plants like it less. I think this is the living proof that plants don't want to be alone. Plants want to be together with other plants. They want to form a unity, and a tight bond. Yeah, then this is exactly the proof of it. All right, guys, that was it for this side of the farm. Next time we do the other side of the farm. Now we're gonna harvest some tomatoes. It's full of them. See you next time. Peace out.